It's GT with the Vibe Podcast. Real quick, hold on, let me check my phone. Hold up. Jiminy Christmas. So, this week we're going to talk about one of the topics that came up is, which we're going to talk about together on our Tuesday podcast, is it okay for your significant other to go to the club with friends? So if you're dating in a dating relationship, is it okay for them to go to the club with friends? That's what we're going to talk about this week. Along with that, we're going to talk about social media, its impact on relationships. We're going to also talk about this thing right here. That's why I started out the podcast acting like I wasn't scrolling through nothing, but I was acting like I was scrolling through something. I saw a podcast from a pastor and his wife. His name is Mark Driscoll. He does a podcast. And with his wife, he had one that said, touch your spouse, not your phone. And so I watched that little 20-minute podcast, and it was interesting listening to an older couple that lived back in the day when there was literally no cell phones. You had that wired phone. So they had a wire that went from the phone folks. We'll call them the phone folks. If it's Cox or whatever, the phone people. I can't even remember who they was. That's how long ago that was. They went from their business all the way through the power lines, and it came to your house. So you're literally wired into the people that you're paying your phone bill to. And so when you had conversations on the phone, you only had one phone. That's it. You had one phone in the house. That's all you had. And so you'd be on the phone, and if you was trying to talk to your lady and whatever, your mom pick up the phone, and you hear the other line, and your mom talk about you on the phone, and be like, you need to hang up and go to bed. So your mom embarrassing you while you're trying to mac somebody down on the phone. But that's how it used to be. You literally, like, for you to make a phone call, that's what it took. And you had one line inside the house. That's it. And so, like I said, your mom be downstairs. She didn't know you was on the phone, but you was on the phone talking to somebody, and your mom pick up the phone until you got off the phone. Or you had to pick up the phone before you made a call and see if somebody was on the phone using the phone before you can get on the phone. Those were the crazy days. And then they came out with the first wireless phones. They were huge. I mean, they were freaking huge. You had to pull the antenna up on them, and they were thick old boxes. And you thought you were fly. If you had that, you thought you were something special. And I just remember how quick it was. It went from the wired phone to flip phones. Like, they had like the flip phones. And I'm like, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I got one, but they just kind of moved so quickly from that to that. And I remember back in the day, if you want to talk to your friends, you had to go meet up at the park, or we have basketball games down the block. So we be down the block, and we have the Terrace boys versus the Pershing boys. Like, them was the two streets that were next to each other. And so if you lived on Terrace, you was on that block. You had to play with them dudes. If you lived on Pershing, you was on that block. You had to live with those guys. And so we had so much. We'd be playing basketball all day. Like, that's what we did. We played basketball all day. And I'm not that old, so that was back like 20 years ago, maybe two decades. So back in like the 90s is when we were still doing that, and even up into the early 2000s. But then it kind of like shifted very quickly. And so everything that you may want is like in the palm of your hand now. So you got it right here. Now, with every good and quick and fast thing comes problems. So are there good things? Yeah, there's good things. We're going to talk about the negative things. We're going to talk about the problems. Specifically how they affect a relationship. First of all, this thing right here so a lot of people, I know they talk about Steve Jobs and the people that created the cell phones. They don't let their kids have a cell phone. And that to me speaks dividends on what it was actually created to do. And so I think that we think it was created for the purpose of bringing speed to us or making it quicker to be able to call out or getting messages to people quicker, but it was created as an attachment. So it's something that we can be attached to very easily, because now everything that you could possibly need is on a phone. Friends, you can text your friends. Very rarely do people call their friends anymore. It used to be that you had to call them. Like, you didn't have a choice. So you had to call them because you was gonna get on the phone, or your mama was gonna be on the phone, or your mom was gonna pick up and hear your conversation. You don't even know your mom may be listening to your whole conversation. So you had to contend with that. But there's one phone. That's it. Now everybody in the house has a phone, and so how it affects relationships is if you have two people with a phone and they're attached to this. So you might be laying next to your partner, but you're not laying next to your partner, right? This thing here has disconnected us when they advertised it to connect us. And so it's disconnected us when it was advertised to actually connect us in the first place. So it was supposed to be used to connect us quicker with everybody around. Sounded like a good thing when it first came out, but as we've gotten deeper into it, it's actually not a great thing at all. When you're disconnected from a personal standpoint and you're connected from a digital standpoint, those are two different things. So you're digitally connected, but you're not personally connected. I know last week, Ann was talking about how social media and how social media impacts relationships, and like having a lot of social media is tough because then you're like constantly scrolling. And so why do you constantly scroll? Well, because you're addicted. It's an addiction. And so you're scrolling because it causes some chemicals in your brain to be released, and every time that you get those chemicals in your brain released, they make you feel good, and so you just keep scrolling. And then you have some people that get on phones and social media. They get on phone social media for likes. They look for validation. That's how they get their validation. So they pick up a phone. They get on Facebook, Instagram. I don't even know what the heck else out there. Whatever be out there. TikTok. I know TikTok's huge. People are always on TikTok. I think Instagram's like the main one. I know Pinterest used to be a thing. I don't even know what was on Pinterest, to be honest with you. I've never gotten into that shit. The main thing I really used was Facebook. I never really used anything else. So like all the other stuff that's out there, I'd be lost. I don't know what's going on. To even TikTok, people are like, I saw this on TikTok. And I'm like, what is a TikTok? Like, I feel like a 60-year-old man asking people, there are people my age that be on TikTok. I'm like, bro, what? You saw this video on TikTok? And it's crazy because they'll have educational stuff on TikTok, and people will believe every single thing that's on there. Like, they'll make a TikTok about something crazy, and people will be like, man, I believe that. And so then they'll go tell people, instead of like looking it up and doing research. It's almost like all the research was done and it's at your fingertips, and it's in like a funny video form. And so you kind of gloss through and keep pushing through, and then you take that information and you pass it on to the next person, even if the information is not correct. And so how it affects relationships is, number one, disconnect. Digitally connected, but not personally connected. And so when you're digitally connected with your partner, but you're not personally connected with your partner, it's going to cause an imbalance. The emotional and vulnerability that you're supposed to feel in a relationship, you don't feel it. Because text messages, you can't feel emotion from text messages. Like, people say they can, but that's a lie. If they say they can feel emotion from text message, they are definitely lying to you. So I think that digitally connected, not emotionally connected or personally connected, is one way that the cell phones have definitely caused some turmoil in relationships. I think productivity goes down a lot when you have gadgets in your hands. And I think it starts from kids. Like, as you get younger kids that are getting gadgets in their hands, you can even see it affecting their ability to be able to go out and make friends and be able to go out and be personable and actually go out and like be a natural human being. Whereas kids used to be that you would go outside and play with a stick all day. Nowadays, you can't even get a kid to go outside on a sunny day. They'd rather be on an electronic or stay inside. So it's keeping people inside the house, So you're not only are you losing the personal and the emotional connection because you're getting a digital connection, but you're also losing the community connection, being communal. Like, people used to know their neighbors. Now we don't know our neighbors. We don't talk to our neighbors. You literally can live next door to a complete stranger. You could live next door to BTK, and you would never know it because you wasn't paying attention. And so that's another way that these digital gadgets have really disconnected us when they were sold. So when they sold these things to us, that we were sold on the premise that they would help us be more connected. But they've actually done the opposite. They've caused us to be more disconnected. And then you can even look at social media too. I would say sometimes, and I feel like a lot of couples probably go through this, where you guys are on your phone so much that it becomes normal. You can sit on the couch next to each other and not even have a conversation with each other. So you're sitting on the couch, but you're allowing everybody else into a relationship, right? So you may be surfing the web or looking up something on Facebook when you probably should be talking to your partner, but you're not talking to your partner because you're on Facebook, so you're scrolling. And so when I say it's digitally connected you to everybody else, what it's allowed is, now that you have this in your hand with your significant other, everybody else is inside your relationship. So you're not in a relationship with your significant other. You and everybody else, whoever is on the phone, is also in a relationship. Whoever you spend time or you give time to while you're with your partner is inside your relationship. And when that happens, you open up your relationship to other stuff. I'm a firm believer in other negative spirits from other people causing problems in your relationship. And so this is one way that they can get in. They can get in from this. And so if you're on the couch or you're watching a movie with your spouse, put your phone up. Put your phones up, and you can shut them off, put them on Do Not Disturb, whatever that you need to do. So that way you're not distracted, because it's a distraction from what you're supposed to be doing. Even when it comes to like work, people in my line of work, they use the phone way too much, and then they get distracted, and then they don't end up doing what they're supposed to be doing at work. And so it was sold to us that it was going to connect us. What does it connect us around the world? Yes, it does. But should you be connected to that many people? Probably not. Because the more people that you're connected with, the less value you get out of your connections, right? Because you only have so much energy that you can dispense connecting with people. And the more you spread it out, the more watered down that actually becomes. And so, like I said, number one, digitally connected, not personally connected. Number two, allowing everybody else inside your relationship. Whether it be the shows that you watch, because you can watch shows on your phone. There's some dumb ass shows out there that people watch. And to me, if you watch dumb shows about relationships and you're in a relationship, you're probably not in a good relationship. Because some of the stuff that's in those shows that you're allowing into your life, you probably should not be allowing into your life. Because there's a lot of crazy stuff out there. Or it can even like skew your view on a relationship. So you get on these shows and they show you this big grandiose love thing, or this dude's like doing this extra stuff, and I'm like, and we're like, that's not even normal. You know, deep down inside, that's probably not normal. But because you've seen it, now you expect it. And that goes with even like people watching porn on their phones and all that jazz, all that crazy stuff. You bring that stuff inside your house. So people think that watching porn is the only way to bring negative stuff inside your house. No, watching them dumbass sitcoms can bring negative stuff inside your house too. Like the dumb shows, the freaking Bachelor and all that stupid crap. Watching those shows is equally negative to your relationship as somebody watching porn. I would put them all on the same level, because anything that can bring a negative mindset to you about your partner, you probably don't need to be watching. But you let it in through these devices, and so it makes it easier to let things in that should not be in. Used to be, in a relationship, the front door to your house was the gatekeeper, right? You keep that bad boy closed and you ain't letting nothing else inside the house, right? That you lock it down. Now, you can't necessarily lock it down, because we've got little gadgets that come inside the house that allow other stuff inside the house. Other negative energies, negative beings, whatever you want to say. And so now there's too many gates, too many gateways to get inside of your home with you and your significant other. Now there's more gateways. So if you got 3 phones in the house, that's 3 more gateways for shit to get inside. You got laptops, you got 2 laptops, 4 laptops, 5 laptops. Every single thing that you have connected digitally is another gateway for stuff to get inside your house that can negatively affect your relationship. And so as we continue talking about social media and its effect on a relationship, we're going to dive deep, and there's going to be some things we're going to say that people ain't going to like. People aren't gonna like. People probably don't like me saying that you're bringing negativity into your relationship by having your phone out all the time. But you are. Like, you are a product of the environment that you put yourself in. And so that's the reason why I tell people, I employ people on the shows. Like, people always get so on top of people that watch porn, but they don't get on top of people that watch these dumbass freaking Bachelor and Bachelorette shows. I'm like, so you're watching a show about somebody having multiple people wanting or trying to get multiple people at the same time, and you're in a relationship. You probably shouldn't be watching that, but they watch that. And my issue is that they look upon certain things negatively, but they don't keep the same energy across the board. And so to me, if you're watching a show that has a negative connotation toward marriage, so if you watch shows where somebody's in a relationship and then some nice guy comes along and he's like super nicer than the current person, they leave the current person for the nicer guy because of love or in the name of love, like, you're allowing that type of energy up inside your household. And so watching those type of shows on these digital devices definitely has a negative impact. And I know it's hard. I know that it's tough because that's what is being pushed. But you have to understand that these people that push those things out to us, they know what they're doing. They have an agenda. And so when you watch it and you start to, and you bring that in, and it changes your perspective on things, they've impacted you the way that they wanted to impact you. So they have succeeded in what it was that they were trying to do. And so the gatekeeper, the gatekeeper has more gates to protect now. And so we've made it harder as a society, as a culture, to be able to keep those gates locked up to our relationships. Because now things can get in through the cracks. This thing here, laptops, all that jazz, those are cracks. And so as we continue this week talking about digital media, social media, its effects on relationships, we're going to continue to dive into some of these issues, and we'll go deeper into some of these issues. But I feel like number one is cell phones is the number one thing, because you can watch a show on there. You can scroll social media. Some people, like I said, some people have the propensity to need likes. They don't get enough likes from their husband or their wife, and so they need to get likes, or they need to see what other people are doing, or they need to get on there to compare themselves or what they have to what other people have. There's so many things that go into why a person goes on there. And then when you get to the bottom of it, it all ends in a negative way. It brings negativity into your relationship, into your life, which isn't good because there's already enough negativity out there in the first place. And so the more things that you bring in, that you allow into your relationship, the harder it's going to be able to have a successful relationship. And at the end of the day, the goal for us is to make sure that we assist people in being able to have a successful relationship. And so next, we will talk about what to do and how to balance things out when it comes to the cell phone. And I hope that you guys take some notes on, like I did say it, yes, porn is on the same level as these stupid-ass shows people be watching out here. These dumb shows people be watching, I'd be shocked. I'd be like, man, why are you watching that? Like, that brings the same type of negativity in that porn does, because porn changes somebody's expectation for their spouse, right? What do you think these shows do? These shows change somebody's expectation for their spouse. So you're essentially doing the same thing. One is just more frowned upon than the other, but they all come out to the same outcome. And so I will conclude today with those things. Let's focus on personal relationships, not digital. And let's be more cognizant and conscious of the type of shows and the type of things that we allow to kind of cultivate how we feel about a relationship, or cultivate what we think a relationship is. Because if you're cultivated by the wrong things, you tend to make the wrong decisions. And so as we go forward this week, we're going to continue to talk about this thing here. We're going to continue to talk about outside influences, because outside influences have a huge influence. And then we're going to talk about ways to help push and drive those things out of your relationship, so that way you can have a healthy relationship. without all the extra added baggage that, because you already have baggage in a relationship in the first place. So the more baggage that you add to your relationship, the worse off you're going to be. And so as we continue this week's podcast about social media and its effects, we're going to talk about a couple of things, and this may be a 2 or 3 weeker because there's a lot that can go into this. And I think that my partner's going to have a lot of opinions on it too. And so we're going to get those things out there, and we're going to talk to you guys, and we'll take your guys' feedback. Again, like I always say, thank you for watching the show. If you have any questions or anything like that, you can comment or you can send us an email. We'll get back to you. And like I said, we are here for you guys, so we will answer whatever questions you guys need us to answer. Have a good week.